And I'd chosen the options that I thought were going to be what were going to help to create that outcome for me. Well, as it turns out, the universe, whatever it is, had other ideas.
Plot twist.
Exactly. So
Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
How to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, come and join the conversation in our Facebook group.
And enjoy the show.
hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
So we just had a bit of a false start. I was so excited to start talking about the actual podcast episode. I forgot to say hello and do our normal little intro thing. I think this is going to be an interesting episode. It's definitely not going to be a standard one.
It's also a little bit later than we normally record, so our brains are in different places too. So buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a fun ride. And we're just going to allow it to happen the way it does. Get that segue.
I like what you did there. So we've just had this little chat before we got on and started recording about what this episode could be like. And I'm not sure that we're actually solidly convinced that we know right now. But I do think that how we're going to create this episode is exactly what we're talking about today, which is finding that balance between creating and allowing. Now, if you don't know what we talk about, what we mean when we're talking about creating, we'll put the link in the show notes to go back and listen to our interaction dynamics episodes where we talk about the shapes, we talk about the empowerment ecosystem, and we talk about the creator approach as part of that. And in it, what we talk about is how to fundamentally be in your empowerment ecosystem, we want to be in creator approach. And in creator approach, we want to be kind of following what we desire. We want to be focused on our outcome. We want to be making the steps and choices, coming up with options of how we might want to get there and making conscious choices about those and blah, 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 blah. That's the kind of weird Cliff Notes version. I'm not sure that actually summarized it that well, but there are lots of elements to it. I mean, I'm not going to do that justice to that in off the fly, off the top of my head. Go back and listen to the episode is all I'll say if you're not sure what we're talking about. And we've had so many experiences of this throughout various things that we've tried to do, have done, have not done, have made happen, and, right? Absolutely regretted afterwards. And I think that where this kind of came from was that we were initially talking about what's the difference between creating and controlling and forcing something, and what kind of prompted this discussion was this experience that I had at an event that I went to last weekend, where I kind of went into this event, and this happens quite a lot in our world, where we kind of go into an event thinking we know what it's going to look like for a start.
That has never once played out the way we thought it was. No. I mean, in no way whatsoever. Not good, bad, indifferent. It is never the vision of what we intended,
not what we expected. But also we tend to sometimes go into these things with an image of what we want it to look like. There's what we expect it to look like, and then there's what we want it to look like. And especially when you're kind of going into an event, a lot of the time when you've got an event, there's a build up to it. You've got anticipation of it. You've got ideas in your mind of the things that are probably going to happen, or the event that I went to was a festival, and there were lots of different events as part of this festival. And I was thinking about what it would be like to go to this event, and what it would be like to go to that event, and what it would be like to do. I mean, the truth of the matter is I went to hardly any events. That's the first thing that didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. But what was really interesting about it is that I had a really important moment in the middle of this event where I did things very differently to the way I would have done them in the past. And I mean, this is a cool thing about this body of work, is that we are students of it as much as we are teachers of it, and we're always learning. And I've I mean, you would have thought I'd learned this lesson a while ago, given the number of times I've been in this sort of position. Apparently this was the time. I mean, so for a start, like how like things didn't work out the way that I expected them to was I was sick last week. I was really sick last week. And like I didn't have any voice. I had this kind of chest and this cough and this like throat thing. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like I've been looking forward to this event for so long. And now I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go to, at one point I was in tears Thursday morning because I thought I wasn't going to be going to any of it. And I'm like, I was really looking forward to this. I wanted to do this and it's not going to happen. It sucks. Managed to turn things around, which was good. And so by Friday, I was well enough. And I like Thursday evening, I went and I was like, because for me, it's really important to be responsible, like, especially with health and stuff. So I went Thursday night, I actually went and got a COVID test and flu tests to make sure that I didn't have any of the like really nasties that I was going to pass on. And I mean, I'd already had it for like 6 days at this point, so I didn't think I was going to be contagious. And I was feeling much better by this point, but I was like, let me just do the responsible thing and check. And so for a start, I missed the first 2 days. There was like, I didn't go to anything the first 2 days. Which I was really bummed about because I really wanted to go to the welcome events because it was a new group of people who I hadn't really spent any time with. And I wanted to it was a good opportunity to kind of connect and kind of see who else was part of the event. So if I was going to go to things on my own, I would know sort of who to look out for and like maybe have started to create some connections. Yeah, none of that happened. And then on the Friday, as part of this, I had booked to go on this boat afternoon thing. It was like a 4-hour snorkel and sandbar and things. Now, if you have listened for any period of time, you'll know I love being out on the water. I love being on a boat. I love being in the water. I love being in the ocean. And I was like, this is going to be because it's like something I would enjoy doing anyway. And it's part of this festival. Like this feels like a good combo. Now, last week, we had a lot of storms. In fact, like the event started on Wednesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it pretty much stormed all day, every day. So I'm like, okay, so storms are happening, and I'm talking about going out on a boat for 4 hours when I'm just now getting well, having been sick for a week. Like, this doesn't seem like the smartest idea I've ever had. I've had better ideas. And so it was funny because I actually called up and was like, is the charter still happening? Because I'm like, this doesn't seem like, none of this seems like a good idea. And they came back to me and said, well, actually, we're going to delay by an hour. And almost without thinking, I was like, I'm going to need a refund because that clashes with another event that I'm going to. I'm not able to do that anymore. And I do think that there was a large part of my intuition going, don't go out on a boat in this weather with how you're feeling. So, but again, I was kind of disappointed because that was like, we had talked about this weeks ago. And this one, like going out and doing this boat day thing was the only thing I was like, this is something I really, really want to do. Because I love being out on boats and I love being out in the ocean. The one thing I'd forgotten was I don't like being out on boats when it's cold and wet because it's miserable. And especially if you're like watching storm systems and seeing lightning fork around you, it's like, yeah, this is not the most fun. Let's not do this.
Not the relaxing adventure that you wanted.
Not really, no. And also it was a new charter company that I've never been on before and I really wanted to try out. So I was like, there's a lot of things. So anyway, I ended up going to one of the events on the Friday afternoon. And I met some great people while I was there. There was some people there that like, I think are actually going to become like long-term friends. And the cool thing is if I'd gone on the boat, I wouldn't have met those people. So there's like, already I'm like, there's a part of my brain going, okay, I see what's happening here. I knew what I wanted, but actually what I really wanted was to make some great connections with people. I just thought it would be easier to do that. That was one of the conversations that we had was I wanted to meet some people from this new community. And I thought that sitting in like the ocean at the sandbar would be a really good way of doing that, which if it's gorgeous weather, it would have been. But it wasn't gorgeous weather and it wouldn't have been. And if I'd done that, I actually would have missed out on the event, where I actually made the best connections out of the entire time I was like the entire festival. So I'm like, okay, this is not playing out the way that I thought it was. And there was going to be, there was a big event happening on the Friday night, and almost everybody I'd spoken to was like, yeah, I'm not going to that. I was like, oh, I thought that's what we were doing. I thought this is like the festival and this is the event and we were all going to go there. No. Okay. So I, and at this point I'm like, I think what I realized was I was cognitively aware of the fact that I had an idea of what I wanted to create and how I was going to create that. Mm-hmm. And I could see already, I'm like, square peg, round hole. I mean, fucking pentagon hole. I mean, I've got no like dodecahedron hole. Like, I mean, literally, I don't know what shape this was, but it certainly wasn't square. And there was no way I was getting my square peg as much as I wanted to create. And as much as I wanted to create a certain thing, the interesting thing is what I wanted to create was some great connections. The problem was not what I wanted to create. The problem was I had a very fixed idea of how I thought I was going to create that and how that was going to happen.
Like the steps to that creation, right?
Yes, exactly. Or like I had like, here's a bunch of options, and I'd chosen the options that I thought were going to be what were going to help to create the outcome for me. Mm-hmm. Well, as it turns out, the universe, whatever it is, had other ideas.
Plot twist.
Exactly. So rather than going to this like noisy music based event on the Friday night, which actually thinking back on it, while there might have been a lot of people in that space, how much actual connection I would have made there and how much I would have been in talk. Bear in mind, I didn't have a voice. So it was hard enough to be heard in a quiet environment. Trying to connect when you can't communicate can be a little tough. So I actually ended up down on the beach under a nearly full moon with somebody who I was like, this is really cool. I'm like connecting with somebody we've got so much in common. And I was like, and it was really funny because I remember I was sitting there at one point, I'm like, I would so much far rather be here than be in a place which is packed with people and noisy. And I was like, I'm like by the ocean, which is one of my favorite places to be. Nearly full moon, one of my favorite like settings. We'd seen a great sunset. We actually got into the ocean at one point and we were just hanging and chatting. And it was like one of those like, oh yeah, I love that too. And yeah, I'm like this as well. And I'm like, that was on. Like, okay. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So on the Saturday,
can I jump in for a sec?
Please do.
Ironically, as you're saying, and I've heard this whole thing before. Like literally, I've heard this whole thing before. And I was part of the planning of the steps to the outcome.
Creating.
Yes. I was in my supporter role. And that event that you're like the big event that, you know, it was like, okay, this is the event people are going to. We have been to many of those kinds of events in Key West, and we have enjoyed 1.5 of them.
Just not wrong.
And I'm like, yeah, in our minds when we were trying to figure out what would be the best course of action for this,
yeah,
we were both like, oh yeah, that event. But now I'm taking a step back. I'm like, would that have actually like? I mean,
well, and I think you might be thinking about the Saturday night event. I'm talking about the Friday event, which was like all the different music acts.
Oh, yes, I am thinking about the Saturday. We haven't got to the
main event yet. We haven't got to the main event on the Saturday yet. We're getting there.
Well, I'm thinking about the main event,
yes,
and I'm still thinking about how silly it is. Like in my mind, I'm
still
like,
valid, absolutely valid. So on the Saturday, there was like a pool party kind of event, and I'm like, pool party? That sounds awesome. I mean, it poured it down in the morning. I was like looking at it going, I don't think there's any pool party happening today. But as is the case in Key West, the weather like changed in a blink of an eye, and all of a sudden it was bright sunshine out. So I go to the pool party and I'm like, now music, pool, outside, lots of fun people. That sounds like my kind of event. It really does. And I got there and I was like,
in Key West with a bunch of people who don't get to pool or party.
Yes, a party very often.
Like...
Yep. Yeah,
I'm thinking,
that's exactly
as
what
we're
it
talking
was.
about this, I'm like, what were
Why
we
did we
really
think? Right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing was that the friend I'd made the day before, she showed up as well. So we ended up connecting. And I met a couple of other nice people there, who we got to have some great conversations with. At this point, I need to track one of them down. They need my electrolyte recipe. So I've got to find, and I didn't get their contact information. So I'm going to try and find somebody who did meet them, who we can end up finding a way of getting information, which we will do because that's how we work. Anyway. So again, we had this pool party and it was just a lot, like from a sensory perspective. Oh my God, talk about sensory overwhelm. I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, and it was so funny because at one point there was they were like playing with like a beach ball in the pool and I was in the wrong position. And the amount of times I got smacked in the face with the damn ball, I'm like, this is not really what I was looking for from today. I mean, I'm glad I went. And here's the thing. I'm glad I went because, and this has happened a number of times recently with different events and different situations. If I hadn't have gone, I would have believed that I'd missed something. I'd missed out on something. And this has happened with a number of high profile events I've been to recently. And I'm like, I'm glad I went because if I hadn't, I would have thought I would have been missing out on something and I really wouldn't have been. So I'm like get the message, Claire. Like, come on, learn the lesson. No, I still
There's an episode called about FOMO that you should probably listen
to. Do something.
We'll put the link in the show notes so Claire can review.
So true. So on the Saturday after we did the pool party, we ended up going down to the beach and like again, it was like super chill. I was in the ocean. We saw an incredible sunset and we actually saw this incredible storm front come in and like you could see it through all the clouds. It was fabulous. That's cool. I'm like, it's my kind. That's my jam. That's my jam. So, the person who I've been hanging out with she had another function to go to. And I'm going back here. And I'm like, okay, this is Saturday night of this festival. This is the night. This is the big thing that everybody's going to, except most of the people I'd spoken to weren't going to it. And it really got in my head. I'm like, well, what if there's nobody there? Like, it's not really going to be the kind of the event that I'm looking for if there's not that many people there. So I come in, I get a shower and get myself changed and everything. And I'm like, it's Saturday night, the night of this festival. I can't stay in. And I didn't want to stay in. I did want to go out and do something. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and head to one of the bars where some of the people have been hanging out. So maybe I'll get it to bump into some people and we can figure out what we're doing from there. I go there, it's empty. Now, as it turned out, it worked out perfectly because I got to see a friend of mine who was about to leave town who I hadn't seen in ages. So we got have a little catch up. And then I'm thinking what to, and I'm like, well, do I just go to this event anyway? Because I'm like, it's got a not insignificant price tag attached to it, but I could afford it. I'm like, do I just go? Because I don't really have anything else to do right now. And I want to be out and I want to have some fun. And I went and I cycled past it. Nothing in my system wanted to go in, like nothing. And I'm like, it wasn't like ew, I don't want to be in there. It was just, it doesn't feel right. Like, even though I have built up, and this is the event that Serena was just talking about a minute ago. I built it up in my mind. This was going to be the event. It was going to be so much fun. Everyone was going to be there. It was going to be a great time. I was going to get to meet loads of people and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Like, and for the first time ever in a situation like this, I had the thought, am I chasing something that just isn't what's present? Like, it's just not what's in the energy. It's just not what's in the space right now. Maybe it's not the space that I'm in. And I'm like, I'm still not 100%. I'm still haven't got a full voice. So I'm like, and as I went past it, like the music was going, I could hear the music and I'm like, I don't think that that's where I'm supposed to be tonight, even though it's how I thought I was going to create what I really wanted as this outcome.
It was part of the plan.
Absolutely. It was part of the plan. It was like, it was most of the plan. It was like the plan at that point. Like that was all the plan I had. So I ended up going to a bar to watch a friend of mine play music that I could do literally any other night of the week. Like when there are no festival, it wasn't part of the festival. There were 9 people in this bar. It was empty. And I'm like, and we had some fun, and people like figured out that we were friends, and they're like, what does she normally play? I'm like, get her to do her own impersonations. And we had some real fun with that. It was fun. And then as it turned out, the person who I'd been hanging out with all weekend, this new friend I'd made, they were like, actually, I'm done with my thing. You want to hang out? And I was like, actually, yeah, that would be great. And I ended up spending time with them on the Saturday and on the Sunday. And the whole thing I'd wanted while I was as part of this festival was to meet some like-minded people and to meet some people who resonated with me, who I could create some like new connections and new friendships out of. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know how many of the people who were part of the main event were people who I would have connected with like that. Nothing wrong with them. We're just kind of different people. And like people like, I mean, I had some fun at the events I went to, and I got to like hang out and meet some of these people, but they weren't people like, if you know me, I'm a very odd combo. Like I like to go real deep. I mean, in more ways than one. I like to go real deep and real serious, and I like to be super silly. And I like both kind of intermix with each other. Like I'm not a kind of very serious person, and I'm not a very silly person. I'm literally both all the time. And so you don't get many of those. So if you've got this kind of large group of people, there may be 1 or 2 people where I'm like, I'm really going to click. And you're like, okay, you're really my kind of person. And the truth of the matter is, I made a connection like that. And I've actually got to connect with some other people as well, which has been really nice. But I was so sure that I wanted to create something. And I was so sure of how I was going to create something. It would have been real easy for me to like try and control it by like restricting it to be what I wanted it to be at the times when it seemed to be going off the life on the edges, going off the cliff kind of thing. And there are times when I'm like, I'm not really happy with where it is right now. Let me try and force it to be this other thing. And the truth of the matter is, I think if I did any of those things, I wouldn't have made any of these kinds of connections. I would have probably had a good, very superficial time. It's not like the events were bad, and it's not like the people there weren't like fun and nice people to connect with. It just wasn't really what I needed most out of that event. I can see it.
Yeah, is that true though? Because if you had gone there, like there may have been fun elements, but would you have had a good time knowing on the other side of it, what those events actually were like being there? Like it might have impacted you more negatively because you would have had the idea this is what it's supposed to be, and then it's not there. So you're kind of like, oh, and then if things happen, like life be lifing, things are inevitably going to happen at a big event that like, whether it's, somebody not being aware of their space or, you know what I mean? There's there's things that could have happened that could have then made something that already wasn't what you wanted it to be. And you're kind of impacted, at least like superficially on that emotional experience expression level. And then all of a sudden something else happens. Then all of a sudden your security is like, well, wait a minute. And then like, I almost feel like it could have led to something
really
that would have negatively impacted you, not just that would have been okay.
I think what I mean is that even if something like isn't like I expect it to be, I'm always probably going to find a way to have some fun within it. As in, I'm not going to be sitting in the corner going, well, this sucks, I'm just not going to enjoy it. Like, I mean, even like the pool party really wasn't my vibe at all. Did I make a good time of it? Yes. Did I find ways to have fun with it? Yes. And you're right. There could have potentially been further impacts that really wouldn't have
served you in the long run.
No, it would like quite the opposite. And I think that's the thing, is that like the thing that I realized was like where I was chasing something that I wanted that just wasn't present. And rather than, and that kind of chasing, that controlling, that forcing, that is all, it's not like it's coming from a bad place. It's not like it was like I was in the drama triangle. I could have still been in the creator approach. But I think it's so important to balance up this creating intentionally and moving in a direction, And if that direction, if it feels like you're banging your head against a brick wall, or it feels like you're really strongly being pulled in another direction, allowing it, and still from creator approach, choosing to allow it and choosing to go in that direction, not in a, oh, well, fine, I guess I have to go that way, which puts you back in the drama triangle again, but instead going, okay, this clearly isn't happening the way I thought it was. Let's see what happens. And let's see what's possible from that place, and from that place of curiosity and possibility and openness. Like literally magic can happen. And there have been so many times where, I mean, I wish I'd learned this lesson sooner in life. I really do. Because there have been so many times when we've wanted something to look a certain way. And if I hadn't gone to something like the example, like I remember we were talking about just before we got on, was the tutu party. Like every year during Fantasy Fest, which if you don't know what it is, it's the week-long festival that we have at the end of October. There is a Tutu Tuesday event. Now, Tutu Tuesday is basically dressing up in costume and going somewhere generally where there's music and dancing. Now, those things on the surface all sound like my idea of a really fucking good time. Like that is like, if someone said, could you describe Claire's perfect night out? I mean, it comes pretty damn close in a lot of ways. I mean, there's lots of different versions of Claire's perfect night out, but that's one that would be up there. And there was maybe a 40-minute window in one Tutu Tuesday that I have been to where I had a great time. And it was that first year where we were all, there was a group of us, the music was great, and it was literally just for 40 minutes and we had a blast.
And there were no expectations. That was, I think that's a big thing. There were we didn't know what, we knew we were walking into the tutu party, and it happened to be one of the, in comparison, like.
Oh, no, it was the second tutu party that I'm thinking about. Yeah, it wasn't the first one, because the first one sucked too, as I remember. Well,
for other reasons.
That was because of the people involved, but yes. Yeah.
But that first year, though, I mean, it kind of brings it into a good point. Like, they're like, for at least, I know you didn't have, that was your first tutu party, but it kind of set an expectation of this is what it is. And then every year after, it's like, no, we're creating this year. Like, we're going back to that first year, and it's like, oh, like hell, you're recreating that.
Because there were parts of that first year that were really great. There were parts of it that really sucked. But we had a great time for a short period of time. And you're right, we've tried to recreate that same time every single time. And it's like, it's so interesting because like every year, like normally, like you'll go to Tutu Tuesday, and like every year I'm like, I just don't think I'm like, I just don't think it for some reason, I think it would be different if I knew the DJ and I knew, like, if I knew, okay, there's going to be a solid hour, I'm going to go and I'm going to have great music and we're going to have a good time and we're going to dance. But a lot of the DJs haven't been that great, honestly, at the events that I've been to. And it happened again last year where I booked my ticket in advance and I got there, and the entire evening was it just wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't, I didn't enjoy it the way I wanted to. And I'm like, why do I keep trying to make this a thing when it obviously isn't a thing? And it's okay that it's not a thing. Why do I not just go, okay, let's find somewhere that we know is going to have good music on another night, and another night where we can go out dancing, or we can have a blast and dance and shake our butts to Britney all evening. And that would be far more fun for me than anything I've experienced at Tutu Tuesday.
It's funny. I'm just thinking to myself how we keep like, and we tried like, try recreating things based on what they were, what we think they're going to be, and how we can set ourselves up to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And like, and there might be a year where it's like all of a sudden the tutu party really resonates, whether it's the theme or somebody's going to be there, it's in the location, and it's like, okay. And I think there's something to be said about, if and when that time comes, allowing yourself to be like, okay, I am actually being pulled towards this. Like, this is something that...
This feels like it's going to be a good thing.
Yes, for whatever reason. And maybe it's not for the music or the, like, you know, the universe works in mysterious ways. Maybe there's somebody you're supposed to connect with and something good will come out of it. But when you're trying to force that good time, like, I am going to have a good time because I paid $40 to have a good time and I'm wearing my tutu and this is a good time tutu. Like, I mean, if only it was that simple. Like, you know, we can be in creator and, I mean, not have it work for us in that sense if we're trying to force what's not there. And somehow, and usually when that happens, you end up kind of in this weird twisty shape that, I don't know, usually shoots you back to the drama triangle, at least for a little bit, where you can be where you end up as victim and you're like, woe is me because, you know, my tutu's limp. Like, it just...
Right. And it's so interesting because I think that, and I felt so proud of myself, sat at that bar doing the antithesis of what I thought. I thought I was going to be surrounded by people. Thought I was going to be surrounded by a specific community of people. And I thought I was going to be doing something different that I'd never done before. And I was at a bar I'd been to, surrounded by no one, listening to somebody who I literally could see any day of the week and have fun with. Like, I mean, it wasn't a bad night. It was good, but it was like, I was so proud of myself when I realized, I'm like, I'm chasing something that isn't here right now. Like, I was looking for a party. I was looking for a good time. I couldn't find anyone. And I'm like, that says a lot right there. And I'm like, in which case there was something else. And actually I had a great time that night, but it just wasn't what I thought it was. Absolutely. And I think
sometimes we don't give ourselves that credit of being like, oh, actually, I can be the good time. And that can be sitting at a bar. It could be, you know, walking down the street. Like, it is a big step.
Absolutely.
For you, for people in general. But I'm proud of you, too, for coming to that point and being like, all right, this is going to look a little different than I thought. And that's okay.
And let's approach that with curiosity and explore what it could be rather than trying to make it something it's not. And I think that's, I mean, and it sounds like we're just talking about this in terms of events and going to events and having expectations of events and forcing it at events. But this can be true of like a lot of different things. Like, it's like if you're like feeling grief, for example, but you want happy and you try and force yourself into happy without processing the grief, without allowing the grief that is present to be felt and processed, you miss on both counts because you're not processing your grief. You're not going to really be happy. You're going to be at best masking really poorly. I mean, and what I mean by that is you're going to know that you're not really happy. Even if nobody else can tell, you're going to feel it. And if you're not feeling happy, what's the fucking point? You're just performing it at that point.
For who?
Exactly. For what benefit?
This is something that comes up a lot in relationships too. Can be like coworker relationships, familial relationships, social relationships, romantic relationships, where it's somebody's so desperate to create and to have it look this way. And they may create it, but if they had to force it, chances are it's not actually like, the picture might be there, but the story isn't what it's supposed to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I just think about like how often you and I have done something where it's like we're trying to do something and that could be a work project. It could be a little adventure out. Who the hell knows where we're going to end up? It could be an event. It could be a fundraiser that we're working on. It could be any one of a number of things where we're like trying to do something and it's just not happening. And the more we try and force it, the less benefit we get from it. The more it's like, why? And the more frustrated you get.
The more needs are impacted consistently and prolonged because I got 10 instances right off the top of my head where we're banging our head against a wall to get something done. And then the fallout from us, we may or may not accomplish what we set out to do. And usually we find a way to
make something
to
happen.
Get close enough at least.
Right.
But then like there have been times we talked about them on other episodes, like when we've done stuff and we've pushed past what we knew was working, what we were like when we checked in with ourselves, if we had checked in with ourselves with, you know, and ironically, a lot of those times we did, and we're like, nope, we're going to keep on steaming forward. And then for 3 months later, we're both on our asses because we pushed ourselves beyond. We forced what wasn't there, which emotionally, mentally, physically just takes its toll. And, you know, sometimes we want that outcome so bad, and we're like, this is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like to get there. In the times that we've been like, okay, well, this isn't quite working, and this doesn't seem to make sense, but it does seem like the better option. Like, and I think the thing is, you don't have to commit. We did the episode where we're talking about options. It doesn't have to look like option A or option B, or, you know, there's so many different potential possibilities out there. And I totally lost where I was going with that, thinking about the other episode that we went into with that. Oh, come back. You were doing so good, Brain. Like, we were almost there. Do you know where I was going with it?
Well, you were saying about like how like when you're trying to force it to go in a certain direction, even if it doesn't make logical sense. Like,
oh yeah, you don't have to, like, I think a lot of times people kind of do that pivot, and then they're like, well, now I've chosen this way, I have to commit to it. Like, that's a big part of the creator, is to understand and allow yourself to be present with what is present. Because I can say I want it to look like XYZ, but like the chances of those letters even being present when it comes down to it and happening organically, like, and that's the thing, like, it might be like, oh, I thought it was XYZ, but I have 2 asterisks and a smiley face. So all right, let's, like, I'm not going to count with, well, I guess 2 is a number, but you know what I mean? I was talking about letters
Probably
before.
not going to be spelling any words out. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's something different that's present, and it's like, well, what can I create with this?
Well, and I think that's the thing, is that so often when we're in that place, when we're in these situations, there's a logical reason why we want to do things the way we want to. There's a logical reason why we think that's the best path for us. There's a logical reason, like, and quite often the alternative doesn't feel very logical. Like, it's like, there is no reason why I should be going this way. I mean, there obviously is a reason, because that's why we're going that way. But like, so often it's like, and that can be that can be the hardest part of this, is allowing your brain to go, you know what? This makes sense. This doesn't make sense, but this just doesn't seem to be happening. Okay, you know what? We're going to throw sense out of the window. We're going to see where this takes us. And all of a sudden, you end up somewhere that you never could have anticipated. You never would have expected to go.
I think it's kind of funny as you're saying this. I'm thinking of us and how we kind of operate, and the reaction we get from a lot of people. They're like, how did this happen? Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yes.
And it's because we don't have to have it make sense for us to like follow what's present. And those are some of the most magical things that happen when we're like, all right, we're setting out to do this. And it's like, oh, wow. Like, we got to the outcome, but that, I mean, we're bouncing all over the place. And it's because we're like, okay, all right, we're doing this now. Okay, we're doing this now. And sometimes we don't. And like we said, it usually ends
bites us in the ass.
Yeah, I can't really think of many times where we've forced something like that it really worked out in the best way. Like, even when we accomplish what we set out to do, it's like, we could have done this in a different way that probably would have met our needs at least a little bit better than what we did by forcing it, because we were so in the, this is going to happen, this is going to, how it's going to happen. We didn't even take that time to step back and be like, okay, is there another way that's presenting itself? Because we were so steadfast on the way, like the route that we were on.
And when you are steadfast on the route that you were on, sometimes you can ignore red flags that are coming up, because you're like, oh no, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And it's like, there's a freaking matador in front of us, like waving like a red cape. And it's like, at that point we've got like the airport people, no, don't go this way. But it's like, no, but it makes sense, and this is what we're going to do, and we've said we're going to do this, and we're committed to doing this, and this will work for us, and blah blah blah. And it's like, you've got this like streamer of red flags like flying behind you as you are like sailing off the cliff. And the thing about it is, and this is why it's so important to blend this creating and allowing, because yes, there are some instances in which we have not up until recently learned our lesson. And the truth of the matter is, I actually think that we balance creating and allowing better than most people, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, so this is just like the latest example. I think it's when it's something you're personally invested in and you really just want something to work a certain way, being able to kind of let go of that and say, okay, this isn't what's happening right now. Let's see where this takes me. It comes almost feels like the final piece of the puzzle when it comes to that blending of creating and allowing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that generally speaking, we're very good. I mean, if you knew how we run our business, our entire business is a whole balance of creating and allowing, because there was a time, and we've talked about this on previous podcast episodes, where we would create a plan of how our year is going to go. And the universe would come along and go, like, fuck it is. Go this way. And we'd be like, I guess that's not happening then. All right, let's see where this takes us. And now we have this kind of idea, this trajectory that we're kind of starting out on, while giving this flexibility and this allowing that if all of a sudden we feel ourselves being really strongly steered in this direction, it's like, well, that wasn't part of the plan, but it feels like we're supposed to go that way. What do you think? Oh, yeah, I would say so. Oh, okay. You want to do it? Yep, let's do it. And off we go. And then it's like, oh, I didn't even know this existed. Like, it's, I mean, it's kind of like Key West in that respect. If you spent any time in Key West, there are so many places here that even now, after all the years I've lived here, like you turn down the street and you go, where the hell did this come from? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know this was back here. And it's like, but if you stay to the roads that you know, and the roads you know are going to get you from A to B, you might end up there, but you're going to miss a whole lot of magic along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right? It's
yeah. I'm thinking there's a house in Key West that's decorated for every holiday, including holidays you didn't know were holidays. I didn't know that house was there for like 2 years until Claire and I started going to a restaurant down that street together. And now it's like how did I miss this? Yes. I'm like, how did I miss this? How did I not know it was there? Because you don't realize. And I think that's like the big, we say with the creator, it's one of the core elements of it is possibility. And it's a lot of times we get into this, I don't know, I do know a lot of it is conditioning, but it's like, if it doesn't look this way, it's a failure. If it doesn't look this way, like this is the idea in my head. And if it doesn't look like this, it's less than. And it's like, I think we both approach life in general with, there's a possibility it could be even fucking better than I could even imagine it to be. And I think that's part of what allows us to allow rather than to force what's there. Because we're like, you know what, this doesn't seem to make sense, but it feels right. And because it feels right in that moment, there's a better chance it's going to feel even better in the end than whatever that other path was that you were trying to force your way down.
Right, absolutely. And there have been so many instances in my life where I'm like, I feel like I'm meant to do this. And my brain's like, what the fuck are you thinking? And it's like, I mean, I give you exhibit A. We would not be here if I had listened to my brain, because I had a feeling that Serena was supposed to work with me on the universal needs, on, as it turned out to be, well, shit, it really is that simple, although that didn't exist at the time. I had a feeling like that's what felt right. My brain was going, this is your best friend. Do not mix friendship and business. It never works. It always blows up. It's going to ruin your friendship. It's going to ruin the business. Everything is going to go wrong. Abort, danger. Like literally I've got all the sirens whirring in my head. That's what my brain was saying. And that's what the expectation was, because that's what the conditioning is. That is what we are told happens. And yet I was like, this feels right. Now, luckily we had such a good friendship at that point that I was able to go, this feels right. And then 5 minutes later go, okay, my brain's doing some stuff. It's freaking out right now. Can I just tell you about how it's freaking out? So I'm not like holding from you that it's freaking out. And I don't really think it's onto something, but I just need to get this off my chest. And we had a conversation about it.
And both of our brains were in this, ironically, both of our brains were like, history does not show that this is going to work out well for us. And what, like 7.5 years, 8 years, I don't know, a century later, we're still doing everything.
And not only that, but it's everything is so much better because we made that choice. Like our friendship is better because we made that choice. The business is better because we made that choice. Our business relationship is better because we made that choice. Everything. I mean, I can't think of a single thing that hasn't improved by us making that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the expectation was something very, very different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
you knew you wanted to create the program, or well, no, the program was created. You knew you wanted to put it out. And then, of course, I came in and it was COVID and a whole new program all of a sudden came out of it. But like,
and a podcast.
I mean, the outcome.
Yeah.
The outcome is still the same. It's to get the universal needs out there.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're on track for doing that better than I ever could have done it without you being a part of it. I mean, and like the content now, like there was a point in time where like content was squarely my domain, not as in like I was pissing all over it going, this is mine, you can't have a part of it. It was more just
Claire would walk around, lift a leg.
Well, exactly. It was just like Serena didn't have enough knowledge to be able to contribute meaningfully to the content until she did. And now what we create when we're working, like we're bouncing ideas off each other and working together on it, is way better than what I would have created on my own. Never would have imagined we would have got here to this point. But it was through that allowing. And I think that's what's happened also with the business relationship. We've allowed it as we've gone through. We haven't just gone, here's how it's supposed to work. This is what it's supposed to look like.
Oh my God.
Like
that would never have worked. Like, I just think I'm like, that it just, no, operating as we do now, I can't, like, that's, and sometimes like this podcast episode, like, we fall back into old patterns, and it's like, you're right. We do this kind of naturally now. Like we're so versed in what we do. Like we solidly stay in creator for most of it. And now we're in creator where we're like, I feel like it's almost like a different level of creator. Like, oh shit. Oh no. Am I insinuating that more content needs to be? No, I'm not. No, I don't remember what I was saying.
I actually don't think it's a different form of creator. I just think you deepen into it even further. I think that's what it is. I think it's the same exact, the principles are the same, the approach is the same. And I think that when you deepen into it, that's when like when you first start, I mean, we've talked about this in so many different, with respect to so many different aspects of the needs work, which is that it's a little bit like when you first like start to drive a car, like a manual shift car. You have to like really think about like, okay, off the gas, on the clutch, shift the gear, off the clutch, on the gas. Like there's a process that you have to get so focused on. And I think when you start to be in creator mode, like you have to very, very much follow the steps, and you have to really kind of think about like the steps that you're doing. But it's like when you're driving, like when you first start driving, you spend so much time focusing and worrying about the shifting of gears and what are the rules of the road and what do I do at this intersection and how do I do this? You're not really able to do much other than just drive. Like that's the focus. And you can't get too creative with like, well, let's just go this way and let's just go that way and let's try this and let's try, because it's like I've just got to get from A to B and I have to think and concentrate on all the steps between A and B. And I think it's a little bit like that in the sense that when you first start out in creator approach, you have to just focus on like, okay, here's the steps. But I think what becomes beautiful is that when you get to the point where you can give those steps, get a little bit more breathing space, and that allowing comes in conjunction with those steps, where it's like, no longer are we just like, we've got to follow each of those steps. We're following the steps. And all of a sudden, if we're like feeling like we're getting a nudge over in this direction, it's like, oh, okay. This way, this way. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's try that one. And then you can pick up the steps at that point, because you're no longer like if someone is in the middle of like changing gears and someone tries to get them to do something else and then pick up the change of gear exactly where they were, like, no, there's a sequence. If I don't do the sequence in the sequence, I'm not going to know where I'm at in the sequence to know which sequence to do next, which better sequence to do next. Whereas once you get to the point, like if all of a sudden, like for example, if you're changing gears because you're like you're speeding up and all of a sudden you have to do an emergency brake, you can downshift real quick. in a way that you can't, because all of a sudden something's come along that means you've got to change up what you're doing midway through. You can't necessarily do that. Like, chances are you're probably going to hit the brakes, stall the engine, and have to start the entire process of driving again when you first start. Whereas once you get to the ability where you can flow a little bit more with it, and you're a little bit more adept at the okay, I know this so well now that even if something comes along and I got a brake in the middle of this, okay, I immediately, okay, I'm on the brake, I'm on the clutch, I'm taking it back down, I can downshift, and I don't have to stop the car in order to start again. I can just flow on from that point.
That makes sense.
I think that it is just kind of that once you kind of really embody this, you can play with it a lot more. You can bring in a little bit more openness and curiosity and possibility into it.
Well, and I think the more you do this, the more you experience the effects of it. And not every time that you go with what is present is going to like necessarily lead to the outcome or seem like the win that you wanted, or like it may not get you to that destination that you were setting out to. And you might be like, oh, I should have just forced it to begin with. Speaking from experience as somebody who has done both and ended up in, you know, like I followed the kind of intuitive process and it didn't feel great when I got there. It likely is still better than what waited for me down that forced path. And I've had so much experience with that, like having forced it and been like, well, this feels even shittier. And I had to work really hard to get to this shitty point. Like,
right.
You know, like, and knowing that, yeah, sometimes life is going to be shitty and you're not going to be able to create what you want as much as you want, as much as you try, as much as you are embodying all the things. Sometimes that's not in the plan, and allowing yourself to be like, okay, like I did what the girls said and it didn't work for me. Okay, now try it again and try like you're going to have experiences that are good and bad. And I could see people like trying it a few times and be like, no, this didn't work out. And it's like, it will.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing is that like sometimes we have to expand our view of what working out looks like. Because like sometimes it's like, oh, I thought I want, and this has happened to me on a number of occasions. I thought I wanted this, but actually when I allowed it, I got this. I never even thought about the fact that that could be what I wanted. Like I didn't, and actually turns out that really worked out. Like, and then sometimes it's like, well, I'm here. Like, what am I doing here kind of thing? And then it's like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not there. And if I carried down that path, I would have ended up there. And it's like, there's so many of those instances. And the funny thing is like, I remember when we first met, and I was telling somebody the story of this recently. We went to a social event and it was a meetup where you were going to meet people. And I saw Serena down the other end of the table, and I was like, I got to talk to her. Like, I was there to meet, there were loads of people and I was talking to other people I was getting on really well with. But I'm like, I have to talk to her. How the hell do I do this so I don't look completely weird? Because she was like literally as far away from me as you could possibly get. And so I kind of went and spoke to another friend of mine who happened to be next to Serena. And then I opened up the conversation so that we could start to have a little chat. And then obviously things kind of went from there. And I think that's the thing is that this has happened so frequently with me now where every time I followed it, I've trusted that I've ended up where I'm meant to be. And so many times where I followed it, I ended up somewhere so completely unbelievably better than I thought it was where I was going to end up was, that I'm like, you know what, for the number of times I end up there, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times where I'm like, I have so many stories in my kind of like, just when I'm like chatting and getting to know people, where it's like, I got this kind of feeling to do this. So I got this kind of nudge to do that. I kind of got this sense to do this. And just by following that, all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, I ended up here. Like, who would have thunk? Like, this was not what I had in my plan, but I am so glad I did. And then there are some times where I've forced it and I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, I see why I shouldn't have done that. Like, even to do
and it could be a roller coaster too of that, because I know there's some instances where it's like, okay, you know, you go with the force and you're like, ooh, oh yes, I'm here. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I probably should have trusted that feeling. Oh, no, we're good. Oh, no. Like when you're forcing it, there's almost bound to be that kind of roller coaster of Like,
you might have it. It's like, oh, it seems to be going the right way. And then all of a sudden shit goes sideways. And it's like, well, fuck. So I end up here. Like, and like it can even happen with friendships. Like I've had, like we've both had situations where there have been people where we've tried to force the relationship to be what we thought it was supposed to be. And my God, have we been burned? Like, I'm surprised our fingerprints
stressed.
Left. Right? And yet those moments where I've just truly followed it, like when I met Serena, like when I think about like my closest people, the people who mean the most to me in my life, every single one of them has been somewhere where I'm like, I felt like, okay, I feel like I need to go in this direction. Like even if I was supposed to be somewhere else, I'm like, I know, but I kind of feel like this is like, I'm just going to do this for a second and just see what happens. And before you know it, these are my chosen family.
Mm-hmm.
So this can like literally happen in every sense of word. It can happen in terms of your career, in terms of your work, in terms of the things that you just do in day-to-day life, turning left versus turning right. Like sometimes it's like, there are moments where it's like, I feel like I should go this way. Like, I feel that's the way I'm feeling to go, but my brain's going, no, this is the direction. This is where we're meant to go to that thing. The number of times I've ended up bumping into somebody I really don't want to see, or I've tripped, or I've like, there's been something that's happened through going that direction. I'm like, well, shit, maybe I should have gone the direction I felt I was supposed to go, maybe, rather than the one I was trying to make happen. Like it literally, there are so many of these moments. And yes, it's important for us to be in creator mode. Yes, it's important for us to have an idea and follow that desire and follow those options and move in the direction of creating those options. And we want to work in harmony with what feels present as well, and what like we're feeling, like what feels right and feels wrong. Because if like it's like, I want to create this and I'm creating the options, but every step you take in that direction, you get this sinking feeling in your stomach, or like you find your like
to your needs.
Shoulders tense up. It's not doing good things to your knees. Did you say
your needs? Your needs.
Oh, your
like
needs. I was like,
yeah, like what the podcast is about. I mean, my knees too, depending on what it is. I've done some things that my knees are like, do not do that. And I'm like, we got this, knees. And I do it. And I'm like, oh, knees, you did not get that. Like, here I am on my butt on the ground. So I
was trying to figure out how a sinking feeling in your stomach affected your knees. I'm like, it might do. I don't know.
Needs.
It's not doing good things to your needs. No, you're absolutely correct. Yes, you are correct. That is
so. You might get to the point where you thought you're meant to be, but like you've compromised yourself so much in that process by forcing it that it's like there
now
is
you've got a whole bunch
way.
of work, and now you've got a whole bunch of work to do to go and like rectify, even just to get back to where you were before you went down that path. Like even just to get back to neutral again, let alone meet your needs. And so it can be a little scary when you first start to do this, when you first start to like kind of follow those little nudges or those little intuitions of like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing and this doesn't make any sense. What the hell? Why am I doing this again? Two random women on a podcast said it was a good idea. Who listens to them anyway? But I think that the thing I would always suggest when it comes to this is that when you first start doing this, try doing it with small things that don't feel like they're huge, groundbreaking. Like it's not like, am I going to
try to pick your mate this way? Like first time out of the gate, like
it's like, am I going to do this career or am I going to do that career? Like, I'm not suggesting that is like, these are the moments, because the bigger the situation, the more emotional charge there is around it, the more stress and anxious you're probably going to feel about it. And that's going to sometimes affect your ability to kind of really kind of feel what's going on and really trust what's going on with it. So the kind of simpler and easier and less weight there are to the situations, the easier, because it matters less. If it's like, if it goes wrong, quote unquote wrong, well, what does it really matter? What have you really lost? And what's the negative impact? Chance are not very much.
Ironically, I didn't realize it until this moment. I started, like, when I started to kind of do this, I started it like due to this body of work and my relationship with Claire, but it was driving. And it was, I need to get to the store. And it's like, oh, I feel like I should go this way. I'm still getting to the store. We're on an island. Like, you can only go around so many times until you end up at the store, regardless of whether you like wanted to or not. And it's like allowing myself to be like, oh, I feel like we should go this way. And sometimes it just took a little longer to get to the store. And it's like, well, okay. Like, and then it kind of started implanting in my brain, like, maybe I missed something that I'm not even aware of. Maybe it was seeing somebody. Maybe there was an accident. Maybe I would have, like, if I went that way, I would have, like, hit a squirrel or something. Like, who knows? But I got to the store, and that was the goal. And
I'm here and I'm fine.
And I'm like, yeah. And it's like nothing. It really helped me to allow myself to trust the fact that, you know what, it doesn't have to be the way that.
And you can do the same thing with walking. Like, you can do that same thing. And it's like, do I go this? I mean, obviously, if like the route ahead is like, it's going to take me 30 seconds to get there, and the route to my right is going to take me 3.5 hours. Maybe not the right decision, or maybe not the best option to play with. But when you have multiple routes, this thing, like when you've got multiple options of how you could do this, start to play with it in that respect, which is like, I'm trying to get here. I've got multiple options to how I can get there. Which one do I feel? Okay, I feel like I want to go. This one feels like it's kind of calling to me a little bit. Okay, I'm going to, and that calling could be anything. Like that feeling of like, it could just be, one, you kind of get a little excited feeling if you do it, or it may be that one feels stressful, or it feels tense, or it feels heavy, or it feels lighter, or it feels or it could just be your brain just kind of giving you a little bit like left, like you might hear something, or you might see something in terms of the options. Like, I don't know, you see something, a road name that particularly resonates with you, and like you notice it that day when you've done this trip like 3,000 times, you never noticed it before. Like, it can show up any of these directions and any of these ways, and the more you start to do it, the more you'll start to hone. Like with me, normally it's a feeling, it's a sensation, normally around my stomach, sometimes around my chest, but normally around my stomach. I get like either I get a kind of sinking feeling if it's not the way I'm supposed to go, or I'll feel like a little kind of, oh, this feels kind of cool. Like, this feels exciting. No, it just feels peaceful. That can be it as well. It's like if something feels, okay, I feel chill when I think about doing this. I feel stressed when I think about doing that. I'm going to do the one that I'm going to feel, where I feel chill. Or if there's one that I feel like, okay, there's this kind of little, almost like fizzy feeling, like a little bubbly feeling that feels good. I'm like, okay, we'll follow the fizz. Let's go this way. And as I said, there's so many different ways that kind of nudge can come. Like, it can literally feel like you're being nudged in a direction. Like, there's so many different options. And the more you try this, the more you'll start to figure out, okay, this is when I feel like I'm being nudged, or this is when I feel like I'm being encouraged in a certain direction. And so the more you can get in tune with that, the easier you'll be able to notice it. And the easier you can notice it, the easier it is to follow it. Anything you want to add before we finish up? Being nudged to share anything extra?
I am not nudged to share anything extra.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this. And if there's any questions you have about this, because this is one of those topics where people are like, and so what about this? Or how do I do this? Please do let us know. We will add it to our list of episodes to record. We'll be back next week with another episode. Between now and then, remember, stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and give us a written review,
as it will help more people find us.
And remember, when you can balance creating and allowing, you can end up creating something that will meet your needs even better.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.